Hey folks, Chris McLean back with yet another episode of the show. And today in the studio, I've got Charlotte from Find and Seek Digital. They're a social media agency offering social content creation, strategy, paid ads, social design, platform management, and more. And currently they work with a range of skincare, fitness, hospitality, and e-commerce brands. They're a team of 5 that focus on being different to other agencies by offering their clients the benefit of working straight with their creative team. And it's all a part of their freelancer contractor model. Charlotte, thank you so much for dropping by the show. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Chris. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. From Melbourne to Sydney, we've got a full lockdown Australia version of the show today.
Lockdown edition, I like that.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Special lockdown edition. Yeah. So take us through. We sort of always start at the start. So take us through Find and Seek, and how did this start for you? Was this something that you'd sort of planned, or did you sort of fall into it? What's been your process so far to getting your agency up and running?
Yeah, sure. So I guess it kind of started as a passion project. I guess there's a lot of, these sort of smaller businesses do. It was myself and my business partner who's currently on maternity leave. She's really comes from a hospitality background,
Yeah.
and I was sort of bouncing around different agencies in Sydney, and we just sort of felt that there was, I guess, a sort of gap in when it comes to the servicing of clients with agencies. And that, I could see a lot of frustrations with people I was dealing with that layer of, so much account management and just, things sort of going awry without being able to deal with the creators themselves. And then also seeing, people in account management roles that had that creative skill set, and just thought that there could be something that could be done there. So we started it as a project on the side and on weekends, and we've been in business almost 4 years now, and now we've got a team of 5. So our business very quickly evolved from word of mouth, and we've got sort of really great retention rate, and from that our business sort of grew into what it is today.
Yeah, it's a really interesting approach, because a lot of the times when you're sort of building a bigger sized agency, you do want to start to separate and sort of have, as you said, that sort of layered approach where clients sort of have to come through that suit layer. They have to come through
Yeah.
producers or project managers or accounts. How have you found it's a really interesting shift to make? How because a lot of the time it can cause more friction and problems when the clients go direct to creatives and they're sort of in their ears. And how have you managed that process? Because it's quite distinct.
Yeah, I think that with, everything that happened last year, and, I think just there's been a shift towards people being more accepting of that contractor
Mm.
freelancer model, that when you're working with contractors and when you're working with freelancers, they're already used to sort of dealing with their own admin, if you like. So it's
Mm.
not necessarily so different for them when you're dealing with people that are used to, dealing with the clients directly,
Mm.
doing their own invoicing, and treating themselves as a business. So from
Okay.
I guess, a staff perspective, that hasn't been too difficult. I guess it depends on the kind of people that you hire in with this model.
Mm.
From a business perspective, the feedback's been really great. So, I think if you're a small business and you're sort of working with an agency and you pick up the phone, and speak to someone that's done the work, or you have a meeting with someone and you share what's going on in your business, and then that's the person that goes away and completes the task, I feel like,
Mm.
they feel valued, and they feel like, their message is being heard and there's no miscommunications anywhere.
Mm. Mm.
What that looks like from, scaling that, I haven't figured that out yet. But yeah, so far
Mm.
the customer feedback's been really strong, particularly when we're
Mm.
working with, clients that have not had such a great experience at a larger agency, which is a typical
Yeah.
pattern that we find. Yeah.
Mm. So it's a really quite personalized service. Like you're essentially sort of in individuals in a team, if that makes sense. Sort of got
Yeah.
independent people that can essentially run their own businesses within your business. Is that kind of the idea of the model you
Yes.
had?
Yeah, so it's
Mm.
almost like a group of digital freelancers, and
Mm.
you can pull different skill sets to different jobs, which obviously gives you that flexibility. but we've still got our core team, which I think adds stability. If it was a whole group of freelancers, we need some central hub, that sort of keeps everything in check.
Yeah. I think it's to have at least some, have some core contact, some continuity between. Some sort. So in terms of account service, are the individual creatives or contractors managing their own set of clients, or is it sort of a hybrid? Like I said, you've got a core team that sort of works with the client directly as well from an account, a strategy sort of side of things. How does the other sides of the business kind of work in with that creative aspect?
So there's always a strategic element to the account. So typically that would be myself or my business partner, or we've got another girl that's more senior in the team.
Right.
I think it's important that other clients know that they've got that strategic guidance, which they would get from a typical agency at like that sort of director level. I also think, and I always try and explain this to clients, that when you're in digital marketing and there's so many different facets, it's really hard to have one person that's great at everything. If you're really good at SEO and SEO is your thing, then I think it's unrealistic to expect that you'd also be a really great, social media manager and a really great graphic designer. So I think if you can, properly get your clients to understand that you're better as a team, you're better to have someone, guiding your strategy and someone doing your social that are experts in their field, that is going to end up as a better result for you. So we try and have that social, creative, and that strategic guidance, I guess, as like a 2-for-1 package. But I think it's about communicating that someone does, the day-to-day work, and then you've got that person that offers strategy. I don't know if I've explained that very well, but that's kind of how I sort of see it.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. You got that distinction between specialists and generalists. If you're working with an individual freelancer or contractor who is trying to kind of wear all of the hats and do the strategy and do the design and do the Facebook ads and do the social media management, and some people can pull that off, but it's very, very difficult to do all of those things extremely well all of the time for a bunch of clients. Which is exactly what you're saying. You can bring specialists together and kind of build that full ecosystem of support for a client. So what in terms of clients, what sort of clients do you tend to work with, and what's your real strength? You sort of talk about social media management. Are you particularly strong in the kind of channel strategy or the content production? What side of things are you do you sort of lead with clients, and what sort of clients do you tend to work with?
So prior to the pandemic, we mainly worked with hospitality. So a lot of pubs, a lot of pub groups, and a lot of retail bottle shops. That was definitely our focus. And then when the pandemic happened, we had to shift. And then we've sort of found ourselves in a bit of a sort of, I guess, a skincare niche. So we work with a lot of Australian skincare brands across organic and paid social. But in saying that, it's very diverse. So we also have, construction software and, cowboy hats. Like, we've kind of don't really, publicly niche ourselves. But if I had to say, we'd probably be in that skincare or just e-commerce consumer goods in that sort of space. Probably any product skewed towards, that female 20 to 40-year-old demographic. In terms of what we do all sorts of social media, but I would say it's mainly social media content. So sort of, content creation, whether it be photography, illustration, copywriting, platform management. So taking that content and, posting it on the relevant channels at the right times with the right hashtag strategy. We do a lot of social media strategies, a lot of social media handbooks as well, which is sort of like giving small businesses the tools in a format that they can sort of take away and reference and run their own social media accounts. I guess that's a nice way to sort of circumnavigate the point that clients get to where they're like, oh, we're going to take social in-house. So it's kind of like that extra, oh, well, here's all the tools that you need to do it well.
Okay. Yeah.
I think with the changes in the way that paid advertising is going from a Facebook perspective, that, you know, content creations and, you know, content marketing is really going to be where it's at for the next few years.
Yeah, so that was actually going to be it's perfect leading to my next question. So what do you see what are the trends now in terms of particularly, I mean, social is such a massive piece of any sort of marketing suite, but where do you see, like, what platforms are working really well? What types of content? Is there anything that's sort of standing out where, you know, at one point and probably still, like, video was being heavily prioritized, some channels, other types of content, long form content, copy, images. There's always a sort of shifting between the platforms of what they really want to see. Sometimes LinkedIn wants all and copy. And are you seeing any sort of trends that's happening now, or what do you see sort of coming down the pipeline in terms of what's going to be most effective for your clients?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the three sort of main platforms that we focus on are Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And I think it's different to what sort of performs well depending on that platform. For Instagram, it's really is about video content, but it's more about that full screen immersive video content. So, you know, off the back of the launch of TikTok, and then obviously Instagram launched Reels, like they're changing the way that the platform works over the next 6 to 12 months to favor that style of content. So it'll be more Reels integrated into your Instagram feed as you're scrolling, which is really great opportunity for brands and businesses because you can reach people that aren't following you. So it's going to become less about driving that follower number and more about creating really great, engaging video content that Instagram will automatically show to people at things that you like. So the one area that I'd be focusing on when it comes to Instagram would be getting that format right for that sort of, you know, story format, immersive content on Instagram. On Facebook,
so it's more of like a for you. Sorry, it's more like a for you page kind of. That
so
TikTok for you page, random content that you're not actually subscribed to.
Exactly. So they already have that at the moment that exists under the explore function, but you'll start to see it just in your normal feed. You know, mixed in between brands you follow and family and friends pages, you'll start to see videos based on what they think you might like. So that's a change to the way the algorithm works, which is going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's a big change. Yeah, I've heard that the Reels are starting to become more and more popular. I know you're just about to move on to Facebook. But in terms of Reels, I mean, Reels are quite a different format, right? It's that, I mean, for people that, I mean, probably most people watching are familiar with TikTok and that sort of short 30, 60-second entertainment style video content. Can you maybe talk us through what works for Reels and what's that difference? Is like this kind of content, you know, podcast, educational stuff, or is it more of that TikTok-y entertainment-y doing funny dances sort of stuff? And how do you kind of map that? It's always interesting to me how you kind of map that style to a professional brand.
Yeah. Look, I think it's really hard to find a balance between being entertaining and, you know, not everybody's a pointer. Like, I think that's like the sort of standard for what people think you need to be doing, you know, pointing to different parts of your screen and text pops up. But, you know, I've seen brands use Reels in a really creative way. My advice would be when it comes to Reels is to try and get on the back of something that's already trending if it relates to your industry. So what I've seen brands do really well is when a particular, you know, reel is trending and they've found a way to adapt it to their business without the need to sort of dance and sing around. So if you have a look at, you know, what your competition's doing, because I think we're at the point now where all the major brands are trying to utilize reels and sort of having a look at how they're jumping on the back of what's trending. In terms of the content available, TikTok has got a whole lot more active users and it's got a whole lot, I guess, a bigger asset library. So you might find that spending, you know, half an hour actually on the platform will give you ideas about how you can relate it to your business. what I find is, because I deal, as again, with mainly e-commerce consumer products, is that all the stuff that you do with influencers relates to Reels. So it's an easy transition to take what you might post on a story, an influencer unboxing your product, and taking that to a Reels is quite an easy shift. Using really great music, using, yourself in the frame. So, you and I, screen to screen probably wouldn't be great for the platform, but if it was me standing, taking up majority of the frame, that's the kind of content. So it's I would choose a really great track, try and back on something that's trending, and make sure that, the video is of you, and just telling people that you don't have to dance and point, because I definitely don't dance and point in my Reels.
Yeah, or do a voiceover. I guess that's the other side of things, right? Is to voice over something, movie quotes or whatever.
Yeah, or you can remix someone else's, have theirs next to it and remix and make it a way to relate to your business. But humor obviously has always had a really strong place in marketing. And, this is a good platform to also, show that side of your business.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting that it's this shift to entertainment almost. Like it's a much more entertaining type platform. As you say, that the brands that can kind of capitalize and that can find something that's trending and do it in a way that's informative, professional, entertaining, educational. If you can kind of hit all of that stuff without it, it's very easy to go off brand, I imagine. So to keep it within you, to really have that very clear boundary of what your brand is and what your brand represents, whilst kind of capitalizing on these silly or funny or sort of dancey trends. It's definitely it's a unique talent or ability. But you said the platforms are prefacing or preferencing this kind of content. So definitely something for people to start to work out how to utilize that. Super interesting. And in terms of Facebook, I know you're sort of shifting to Facebook, and Facebook, Instagram, essentially the same platform. But what is sort of Facebook doing? I was like in groups, they're pushing more of the Clubhouse type private room kind of setup. What's sort of happening over on Facebook in terms of what can brands capitalize on over there?
Yeah, I mean, you've already said it. Facebook groups would be where I would be focusing my energy as a brand. Right. Facebook is such a saturated market, great for advertisers. But I think, these days, if you're a brand, you're looking at Instagram to showcase your product benefits, but Facebook's really a platform to connect with your customers. So I would be finding ways to infiltrate groups that are relevant to my target audience, or even running a Facebook group. So, with the fitness brand that we're working with, Facebook groups are a really vital part of their business to communicate with their customers regularly, particularly in the pandemic when they're all working from home, or it's all shifted to that online fitness model. It creates that sense of community, and it's not necessarily a place to market your products, but it's a place to retain your customers, to get referrals to new people and bring them into your ecosystem. So that's really where I would be harnessing my energy. Not a lot of the customers I work with have a Facebook content strategy. It's really focusing on Instagram or LinkedIn for that B2B space, and then using Facebook as a way to harness that relationship. Obviously, Messenger is also big. So, a lot of people are on there, particularly, again, in the pandemic, to connect with other people. So, an effective messenger strategy that's, can be put in place as another way to use Facebook.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that Facebook community seems to be a really, again, very, very off the back of sort of the pandemic and this separation that a lot of us have, is seeking, literally trying to find and seek relevant to your brand, trying to sort of find out people that we can connect with, because a lot of people they're literally isolated, and they're trying to find community where they can. And it's interesting that how the platforms have shifted, and Facebook really is that that group community that is one of the central places that you can go and have that community. Instagram and LinkedIn, like LinkedIn groups, don't really seem to have that stickiness for community. That for LinkedIn groups tend to be pretty awful. They're pretty spammy and publishy, whereas Facebook groups are much more of a community. So it's really interesting to see how that has kind of developed. And now, as I said, trying to map a brand across all of those ecosystems and have your entertainment value and your sort of stickiness over on Instagram, then pushing people into a Facebook group, and then trying to capitalize that and convert them across and find your B2B over on LinkedIn. Strategically, how do you kind of start to map that out for clients? Is it really based on who they're targeting? I mean, with e-com, Instagram's definitely a good place for e-com, but the sort of that B2B versus B2C, Facebook versus LinkedIn, does it really come down to who are they targeting and where are those people hanging out?
Yeah, so, as we approach everything, it starts with a strategy, and obviously the first thing that we try and figure out is who they're talking to, and then figuring out where those people live. So it's all well and good to have a really great Facebook strategy, but if none of your target audience are active on that platform, then sort of there's sort of no point in using that as one of your channels. I think it's easy to make a clear distinction between B2B and B2C, as B2B being LinkedIn and B2C being Facebook and Instagram. So sometimes, businesses will have both elements to their business. So there's a need for them to have and use both platforms. But I also think that LinkedIn is starting, to become a bit of a B2C channel. I think that, in the next few years, we'll start to see even more content than we do now. Like, I don't know if you remember LinkedIn, 5-10 years ago, it was purely a place you go to look for work. And now, it's a place, I sort of replace LinkedIn with Facebook and use that as my news feed. I think as a business owner or, as an educated adult, the kind of content that you're served on LinkedIn, it feels similar to Facebook, but it's a lot more valuable. So, depending on what kind of market you're in, we're recently working with a university that's launched like a new course or program. And, that's, to me, even though it's a B2C product, makes sense on LinkedIn, because that's where, your academics and, your working class professionals are consuming their content these days. And I think we'll start to see a shift even more so towards that on LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's a really good point. LinkedIn has become much more like a Facebook style newsfeed. Even over the last 18 months, 2 years, it's very much shifted, where it used to be much more kind of blog content and links to professional things. That still goes on, but it's much more, as you're saying, a place where people are hanging out more often and much more personal type content. And really, the evolution of these platforms is super interesting to watch, and literally that's your job, right, is to understand what's happening now, like what's relevant now, what types of content do I need to post on these platforms, and understanding that shifting context as well. So publishing the same content across everything generally doesn't work a lot of the time. So it's really understanding the nuances of those different platforms, and having somebody with, like yourself, the capability to go, right, here's the strategy, but here's a piece of content. Now let's repurpose it or shift the context of it for the different platforms.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So what's the rest of 2021 look like for you? Looking to expand team, looking to obviously onboard new clients, but sort of what's the future of Find and Seek look like for you?
Yeah, so we just onboarded our newest team member, and we've just sort of had a bit of a shift in clients. So brought a couple of new ones on board, and I try not to overload the onboarding process all at once. So I'd say for the next sort of 3 months, it'd be getting the new staff member up to sort of scratch with the processes, and let her sort of land on her feet. And from a client perspective, it's really nailing that onboarding. I think that's really successful to long-term retention, is getting everything right at the start, appreciating that they're all in a pandemic as well, and them working from home in this sort of model is really usual for us, but really unusual for them. So showing them that little bit of extra support coming into Q4 and to the rest of the year. And then I think, coming into Christmas, I mean, I don't know if other agency owners experience this, but it's it's an interesting time from bringing on new clients because everyone's kind of winding down for the year. Everyone's feeling a bit burnt out. So it's sort of like, you know, we sort of take December. It was a bit of a slow month and then come charging back in January. So I can't believe we've been talking about December. But yeah, I would say that we're sort of hanging steady. You know, I find the end of the year is a good time to look at your internal processes and how you can better streamline that. So when you know, to come into 2022, hopefully you're looking at a year without lockdowns, with a bit more business stability, you know, with the look to bring new businesses on board, you've sort of had that, I guess, self-review time.
Yeah, love it. Amazing. Yeah, perfect time for reflection. And I mean, who knows what Christmas, the end of year period is going to be like in this environment, right? It might be hectic. It might be if people like cities like ourselves, like Melbourne and Sydney, come out of lockdown and there's sort of an explosion of business, it could be a really fruitful time. It could be a boom time. So it's again, having that adaptability and that agility in your business to chase and pick up that business as the economy and as the market shifts is super important. But yeah, hopefully get some time, also spend some time at that end of year to reflect and kind of go, okay, what worked well this year, what didn't, what are we doing next year? Get a bit of a break.
Like you said, mentally it's really important. You know, I think to take a little bit of a break, especially when you're rolling out of bed into the office and then, you know, you're working late and you never really, it's harder to define those working hours. I know that the team and myself, you know, I think it's really important to recharge.
Yeah, absolutely. And kick the brand new year off full of energy, ready to go.
That's it.
Yeah. Awesome. Charlotte, thank you so much for dropping by. Really interesting chat, and always interested to hear informed opinions about what's happening with the different platforms and how we can start to leverage them as agencies, as clients, how we can support clients on that journey of understanding what, you know, where is the attention today. I think we got some really good insights into that today. So thank you so much for dropping by. If people do want to find out more about you, where are the best places for them to come and connect with you or find you and seek you out and get connected?
So you can head to financeseekdigital.com.au. That's our website. You know, if you are a business and wanting to sort of have a no obligation free chat about what platforms might be right for you, you can book in a 30-minute call. That's, you know, totally free of charge. That's the best way to reach me personally. We're on Facebook and I'm on LinkedIn. On Facebook, we do have a Facebook group called Let's Get Social. It's just there's only about sort of 200 small businesses in there Australia-wide, and it's just a nice place that you can come and, you know, ask stupid questions if you like, and there's someone there to sort of guide you in the right direction. So that could be something valuable, and you'll find that on our Facebook.
Awesome. As always, I will drop those links in the show notes so people can click on those and come and find you and connect with you and ask stupid questions, which is what we like. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, as we like to say. So there are no stupid questions when you got people that can answer them and actually point you in the right direction. So yeah, awesome stuff. Thank you so much for dropping by. Thanks, I hope
Chris.
Lockdown does ease for you guys up in Sydney. I know they're going pretty hard on you at the moment, so fingers crossed things ease up and you get a bit of reprieve over the next few months.
Yeah, fingers and toes. Christmas.
Yeah, let's see. Hopefully we get out of lockdown before Christmas, but who knows? Yeah. We'll play it by ear. But yeah, thank you so much for dropping by and spending your morning here. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.
Thanks, Chris.